easy for us to understand. I mean, one of the things I want to encourage everybody to do is, you know, read Inside Higher Education, read the Chronicle of Higher Ed, you know, because periodically, and more frequently over the last number of years, you know, you get these adjunct-related articles going on. This happens to be something by Michael Berube, right, who was the last president of the Modern Language Association. He wrote an article about a meeting which was this group here, Association of American Colleges and Universities. New faculty majority was there too. There was a great deal of interest at that meeting about adjuncts and about adjunct teaching. And, you know, with the usual kinds of factoids that we really need to get out there. I mean, my talk theoretically today is going to be, you know, working conditions and learning conditions. So our working conditions are teaching conditions. Let's think about what kind of students that we need to teach. Obviously, we need to teach our students in the classroom. Obviously, there must be some kind of effect of this sort of chaotic system on those kinds of learning conditions for you know, students in the classroom. But we have other people also who need to be learning a few things, like, you know, adjuncts make up really a whole bunch of the 1 to 1.5 million people actually teaching in this system of higher education. So we need to teach those things too. If we look at right now in the room, right, we've got about like 20 people or something like that, right? Our working conditions actually affect our ability to be able to engage in this kind of extremely important, you know, social activism and social work that we need to do. You know, there are a lot of people who would be here. Some of them wrote me and said they, you know, that they can't be here. I mean, this is true for everybody, right? Throughout this kind of society that we live in. But you know, one of the things I just want to keep urging is that you know, we try to stay together, keep together, communicate with each other across all kinds of different platforms. Back to some learning conditions. Like I said, this was a meeting that was sponsored by AACU and New Faculty Majority together. It's quite a good article. There are many other such articles. Let me now show you this. Here's a report directly from that organization, right, Association of American Colleges and Universities. But this is mostly private colleges and universities, this association, right? So we're a public university, obviously, right? And this is another place where we should kind of keep some communication going across systems, because public, private, we're all facing the same kinds of difficulties. This, as I say, is a recent report, and it directly raises these issues that we're talking about, right? These issues of connections between the quality of people's working conditions and student learning outcomes. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I could spend the rest of the time that we have here today talking about exactly these kinds of things. If someone comes up to me after class and says, "Can you help me? Can you help me with my research project?" And I say, "Well, I have to leave," that is directly affecting, right, their learning conditions if I have to leave like that. And that happens to me a lot. It happens to full-time faculty as well. I understand that, you know, but then the problem gets multiplied, you know, when you have these fragmented work domains, and that is clearly a big problem. Notice here, by the way, and I'm giving you some resources if you want to do some other research as you move forward. The Delphi project on changing faculty and student success. I've got another site that I can show you, but just, you know, this is briefly to give you an idea that people are looking at this. People are worried about this issue of working conditions and student learning conditions. Now, where am I going to go with this? yes. Well, here's something. When this new faculty majority is going into its 4th year now, that's just one organization. Other organizations and other activist organizations that are working on behalf of adjunct and contingent faculty and trying to think about this. This has always been a very sensitive issue for them, right? The relationship between work conditions and learning outcomes, right? And here are some of the elements. You know, we have some pride in what we do. You know, we want to be able to say we're doing a good job, right? We want to be able to say that students are doing well in our classrooms. Especially adjuncts sometimes want to say, you know, look, you full-time faculty, we're just as good as you are as teachers, you know. That's just natural that we want to say those kinds of things. And we also don't want to ask for too much help, you know, because we don't want to say we can't handle this workload. I've got 6 classes I'm teaching right now. In about 20 minutes, I'm going to run off to LaGuardia College and teach 2 classes, and I'll be done by 10 o'clock this evening. And you know, but we don't want to say, you know, this is overwhelming us. But the truth is, we really have to come out and say, you know, this is overwhelming us, right? So this is one of the things we realized, that we have to be able to be honest about this kind of thing. Otherwise, we are going to be taken advantage of, you know? If we have deans and managers and various corporate HR type folks, you know, looking and saying, well, look, those people are teaching 5, 6 courses, you know, they don't, and they want more, you know, they're always lining up for more. And look, they're saying that they do perfectly good work. And actually there are some studies, you know, like there was a recent one on Northwestern University in Boston, you know, and there was a report that said, oh, the adjuncts are doing better teaching than the full-timers, you know. Now, how much do we want, you know, administrations to get used to that idea, right? That, you know, it really doesn't matter what the workload is, you know. Like people who really are doing a good job, they'll be able to deliver on that. And that's going to come back and bite people, right? Including, obviously, full-time faculty. It's just not good for anybody. And I don't think anybody can really believe that you can teach any number of students and any number of courses and you're going to get, you know, the same outcomes. I just really don't believe it. I don't think anybody who really has teaching experience believes that. But we stand in danger, I believe, of giving people an excuse to believe that kind of thing. You know, if we're not upfront about the drawbacks of being part-time, contingent, cobbling together careers and so forth. Now, by the way, of course, this also brushes up against another very sensitive type of topic, which has to do with overloads for full-time faculty. Now, if we see also there are overloads that are being taught by full-timers, and people are saying, and they're doing a terrific job too, again, you know, what is going to be happening in the long run when we think about those kinds of issues? I don't want to get into, and I'm not really prepared to get into, you know, the very technical ways that we can measure this, if we can measure this, you know, if we can't measure it. As you know, in every nook and cranny of higher education, right, there's the creeping accountability monster, you know, that's on the way, right, that's coming to measure everything that you do, right? It's being imported from the K-12 domain. And by the way, I would say that in some sense the K-12 teachers are better able to withstand the rigors of that kind of onslaught than we are. You know, because actually they have a more thoroughgoing union solidarity, for instance, across their ranks than is true in higher education. But anyway, what Diane Ravitch has called, you know, the accountability juggernaut from K-12 is marching right toward higher education. And it's going to be about measurement and outcomes and these report cards that you're hearing about. all of this kind of thing. And almost none of that, right, is going to include the advice and counsel of people who really have experience in classrooms. I'm afraid that that's true. That's a repeat of what we have seen in K-12. So it's a problem, this relationship. I'll give you one more of these here. This is actually a report, and it's called Who is Professor Staff? You saw that in the title of the talk that I had today, and I stole Professor Staff from, I'm not sure where I stole it from, Maria Maisto, who is the president of New Faculty Majority. She wrote an article called that, and then this was adopted by this group, Center for the Future of Higher Education Policy. Okay, now that's an ad hoc group. It's kind of a virtual group, though it has had several actually in-person conferences. Gary Rhodes is the main figure in it at the moment. You'll remember he was previously with AAUP. You know, he's a very accomplished research